I had all kinds of diagnoses that I look back on now, and it's just like, wow, where did that even come from? Now, with the knowledge that I have and having years of the work to look back at, it was unresolved trauma. I didn't have this big wow, aha experience. I don't know what the heck happened. I have an idea now that I've been doing the work for a long time, but then I had no idea what happened. I just knew I came home. I wasn't yelling. I wasn't screaming. Life was good. I was connected to nature. I was connected with kids. I realized I was loved. It was all good. There's hope in this, but I knew I was still looking for something. And in November of 2016, a friend of mine had me doing some research on DMT for her, which I had no idea what that was at that point in time, even though I was very familiar with psilocybin, LSD, these things, but DMT not so much. But I came across the word ayahuasca, and instantly my body responded. I'd already created a relationship enough with my body through meditation to understand, like, okay, there's something here. I knew that that's what I was looking for.
So, hello and welcome back to our podcast, Ayahuasca Avatars. And we are back with another episode with my sister Miranda, who is a psychedelic integration specialist. So, we're going to talk about integration today. We're going to talk about safe places. We're going to share about our journey and our experiences in the psychedelic healing space and what's happening currently, in the psychedelic renaissance. So, stay with us and yeah, leave a comment, tell us how you liked it. So, welcome, Miranda.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
So nice to connect with you. I connect with a lot of people through social media because, we see each other's content somehow, we have this connectedness. I think it's quite a small space in a way still, the psychedelic healing space. And some people you resonate more with, right? Another person not necessarily. So I had such a good fortune to talk to a lot of people who I resonated with what they are doing and what they believe in. So, and I felt this energy with you as well. So, thank you for accepting this invitation and being with us and sharing a little bit your story. And yeah, that's my first question that I always ask people. How did you ended up, working with psychedelics first for your own benefit and then later with people? So, just share a little bit about that. Thank you.
Sure, absolutely. And thank you. Like many people in this space, I found my way to psychedelics from hitting my version of a rock bottom. Essentially, I was in 2015, 2016. I was on all kinds of pharmaceuticals, high doses. Many of them shouldn't have been given to me with the other ones, and it left me in a very dark space. Left me in a space where I was knowingly essentially emotionally and verbally abusing everybody around me, including my children and my husband. And I was vibrating on just pure rage, quite frankly. And I attribute that to 90 to 120 milligrams of Adderall every day on top of multiple other pharmaceuticals. But I essentially was walking around a bunch of rage. And as a human who was pretty aware of psychology and what impact of what I was doing was going to have on the humans around me, I was left with choices in my mind. I had already been to the doctors and taken what they gave me. I'd been to the therapist. That didn't help. In my mind, I did everything I was taught when we feel that way, right? And I was broken. It didn't work. So in my mind, I had choices. I could continue on and pray that my children forgave me someday and that they could find their way through, or I could remove myself from the planet and give them a different type of chance, right? And that's essentially the path that I chose. And I was moments away from making that happened, and it was nothing short of a divine intervention that asked me, when was the last time you were without pharmaceuticals in your body, right? This isn't the way the human body was made to work. This isn't you. You're going to stop everything you're doing. You're going to find a natural way, and that's why you're on this planet. You're going to find that way, and you're going to share it with other people. And I can remember thinking in that moment, like, no pressure, right here, I'm ready to check out. And you're like, God, it gave me hope.
This was like a voice, or it was like an idea that popped into your
Yeah.
head, or how was that experience like?
It was a very much a voice that was outside of myself, is what it felt like in that moment, right? And now having a little bit of a deeper understanding of the internal relationship, right? It likely was a higher part of myself, and it knew it was not going to get my attention if it came from my own. So it was jarring. It was like, first of all, what is this, right? Weird. Now I'm hearing voices, but this voice make a little bit of sense. And what do I have to lose to listen? So I took it very serious. I quit everything I was on cold turkey, which do not do that. I'm sure things got far worse for me before they got better. It was about 30 to 45 days of will I make it through this or will I not? And when I did make it through that, I was on a mission. I was on a mission to do exactly what that voice asked me to do, and it was to find natural ways to read. I knew I needed to rebalance with myself. I began with mindful self-compassion, an 8-week course, which brought me to a space where I actually knew I was worthy of feeling better. And I think this is a part that so many people skip. They just want to dive in and feel better. But if we don't realize that we're worthy of it, there's going to be a part of ourselves that is going to be constantly pushing it away. So I'm grateful that I found that peace first for myself. I moved into breath work. I moved into neuro feedback for ADHD symptoms. I did a nutrition program. All of these things gave me glimpses of blue sky. Like, right, there's hope. There's hope in this. But I knew I was still looking for something. And in November of 2016, a friend of mine had me doing some research on DMT4, which I had no idea what that was at that point in time, even though I was very familiar with psilocybin, LSD, these things, but DMT, not so much. But I came across the word ayahuasca. And instantly, my body was I'd already created a relationship enough with my body through meditation to understand, like, okay, there's something here. I knew that that's what I was looking for. And those humans who have heard that call, like, it's very real. And so I didn't understand it at that point in time. So I spent my human brain spent the next 3 to 4 months completely hyper focusing on every documentary I could watch, every book I could read, any study that was out there on DMT, ayahuasca, any psychedelics that were out there. So I was looking for the science of it, and I was very convinced in just the science aspect of it that yes, there's something to this. So April of 2017, I got on an airplane by myself and flew to Colombia, of all places, to Namaloka with a shaman with jaguar teeth around his neck to drink ayahuasca as my children were sitting in, at that point in time, they were still a private Christian school. So it was a weird dilemma in my life too, but essentially that's how I found medicine, and I continued to work with it. About 8 months after that journey, I felt myself kind of back. I never resonated with depression again. That's the truth. I didn't have this big wow ha experience. I don't know what happened. I have an idea now that I've been doing the work for a long time, but I had no idea what happened. I just knew I came home. I wasn't yelling. I wasn't screaming. Life was good. I was connected to nature. I was connected with kids. I realized I was loved. It was all good. About 8 months later, I felt myself like backsliding. Great. Well, I'm just gonna sign up and gonna go do another retreat. This time I'll do more medicine because that's sure, right? Just go and rather than 3 ceremonies, I'll go somewhere with ceremonies. Was not the most functional option. And that's in that journey, in that space is where I was shown, like at this point I was a nutrition. So I wasn't a very good one. So I was grateful when I was shown, like, hey, you have the opportunity to work with people with psilocybin, right? Is psilocybin safe, effective? Well, pretty safe to say that all of our ancestors at one point in time had an experience, a relationship with fungi, right? And so I got this message, which all kinds of people get on the medicine, and I was aware of that. And so I came home and I spent the rest of 2018, 2019, first of all, integrating massive amounts of stuff that came up for me. And there was no integration with the centers at that point in time. There were not integration coaches. So this is where I learned that, oh no, this is important and it can be dangerous if it's not right. I backslid a little bit with one, but I didn't have the support. But I also began cultivating my relationship with psilocybin. I didn't just jump out and start serving psilocybin to people. I created the relationship with myself for about a year. And even then, in that, I was also taking training to be able to hold trainers, to hold a trauma informed, to understand the nervous system. How can I tell if somebody's having an experience that potentially maybe I could check in and just see what they're experiencing because potentially they're in a loop. The nervous system's activated for the last 15 minutes, right? There's different things. So as I was cultivating this relationship with psilocybin on a healing level, I certainly had a recreation relationship with it earlier on, but I was also doing the work of gaining the knowledge to be able to hold a safe container for people because as and many people know, but many people don't know. It's far more than just giving somebody a substance, right? It's can we walk through a preparation period of tilling the soil and being prepared for anything that may come up, so that things are not so traumatized within the in-space culture. And can we have an integration plan afterwards to where we're actually implementing change rather than just having a cool experience? So essentially, that's how I found my way here. I continue to work with, I'm called more to Yahe, Colombian ayahuasca. I'm actually heading down in 3 weeks to do my first journey in 2 years. It's been a while since I started my business. It's amazing how my own healing kind of got pushed to the back burner, and I'm feeling the repercussions of that, as I imagine many of us may learn the hard way, right? So I'm heading back down to that, but that's a medicine that I've continued to work with. So I've got quite a bit of experience with that, staying in the more traditional settings of South America, and then I, support people generally with psilocybin.
Wow, I have so many questions. So, right, so you work mostly with psilocybin and you do the prep and the after the integration, but also you hold space like kind of like a sitter, or you are interacting, you guiding people in some shape and form in the experience, or you are just kind of, have them and then processing it before or after. How does that look like?
Yeah, so in my spaces, I invite people to go inward, right? I'm not there to drop my ideas or my wisdom in. I'm creating a space for them to be able to see what they're hearing when that default mode network is a little quiet and they've got the increased neural crosstalk. So in my containers, generally it's more of an inward experience. Now, with that being said, within ceremony, things come up. And if somebody is moving through something and they're wanting to process and talk about something, I'm there to hold that space. I'm not going to coach them in that space because, again, being the mind's in somewhat of a open hypnotic space, I don't want to drop in my thoughts and programming. It's let me support you in getting to where you're at, right? I have my journey. Let me walk with you on your journey. And so there are times where there is, dialogue there, but it's more so holding the space and taking note, and then in the integration process saying, now let's take a look at this a little bit deeper.
Okay. All right. So before, I get to this part of the healing and the processing, just can you share a little bit about like some examples from your life, because you were in a pretty hard spot, as you said, kind of dark night of the soul with your relationships with your family and everything, and your state of mind and emotions and all that. And obviously you went through a huge transformation. So can you say a little bit about like how was that for you? That what did you do on an everyday practical level? Like as you didn't maybe have an integration coach, probably that's why you are an integration coach. So, but how did you help yourself, and as a result, how did your life change? How your relationships changed as a result of that? Because I think people have direct questions. Can it help me with this, that, or the other?
Yeah, definitely. Great question. Thank you for circling back around to that. The everyday, looking back on it now, what it felt like was crawling and scratching my way through, but it was it boils down to the foundations at the end of the day. And I talk a lot about foundations with my clients. And am I breathing? Am I getting enough oxygen to my brain, right? Am I belly breathing? Am I taking the time to just be? Am I grounding with the earth? Am I eating food that fuels my energy or feeds disease? Am I staying hydrated? Do I have enough water in my body so that my being can function the way it's supposed to, right? Am I moving my body, right? Am I giving my body the natural endorphins and happy hormones that it can create on its own? So in the beginning, and even now, those are the things that I always circle back around to. If something feels out of alignment, I'm checking my foundational things first. And so I was so grateful that I did create and cultivate those tools prior to working with the medicine, right? And that's also why I bring that to my clients as well. Let's address this, because we can take all the psychedelic medicine we want in the world, and if we're not addressing the foundational things of being a human, right, that are universal to all of us, there's likely to be some rocky foundations. So that's what it looked like, and I continued to learn new modalities, right? So tapping, I did a bit of EMDR, and I did do talk therapy in there for a while, and so it got to a point where I almost felt like I outgrew therapist, right? And And I think that's not an uncommon space for where we are. And yeah, and then I found integration coaches, and this is where I learned. I learned like, oh, this is a thing. And life changed, community changed, everything. Just having people to talk to, right? And so these are the ways that I move through. And these are also the things that I share a lot with my clients. As far as how my life shifted, I mean, life is not, I'm not going to sit here and be like, hey, my family life is absolutely perfect. Realistically, outside of my family life is beautiful, mind you. So I'll just say that. And oftentimes those spaces that we are the closest to can be the most difficult to shift, right? And so do I feel like I'm a perfect parent at this point and I've completely redeemed myself? No, I don't. Wife? Nope, I don't. Do I know how to communicate much better with the humans that I love? Absolutely. Do I spew my trauma all over the people around me? Absolutely not. Right. So it's that awareness of who I am and what it is I'm navigating and how that may or may not be influencing the people around me. So I say that's probably the biggest way. And then also the way that I communicate with myself, right? Like we've all experienced, and most humans I feel have experienced a version of this critical voice, right? And it can be nasty when you find yourself in that dark night of the soul. I don't have that voice anymore. That voice, like if that voice pops online, I'm like, whoa, Nelly, where did that come from? And 9.9 out of 10 times, it's not my voice. It's an energy I can feel. I can tap it into an energy around me. I don't talk to myself anymore because I love myself. And it's not just a matter of like bullshit and saying I love myself. It's no, I feel that. There's love for myself and I can embody the fact I believe we are that first of love. I've experienced it personally multiple times in journey space. So that's what I resonate with. I am love. And so those are, I would say, the biggest ways. And then of course, it guided me into supporting other humans. And this is like the most beautiful thing is to hold the spaces to witness other people guide themselves back to themselves at the end of the day and then create lives that they're also in alignment with. And that I think is probably the most rewarding shift that I've had, and thanks to the full renaissance and the work that I did prior to and the training I've done, I'm pretty successful at that in the realms of humans that I'm helping, right?
Thank you for sharing that. So, as you said, you had depression and a couple of things you were diagnosed with, and you were on a lot of pills and stuff like that that didn't work. Through your medicine journeys, did you find the deeper reasons and meanings why you were struggling with certain things and could you resolve those? Because I think that a lot of people don't understand that, these are just symptoms that are something deeper that is manifesting this way. What was your experience about that?
Yeah, I had all kinds of diagnoses that I look back on now, and it's just like, wow, where did that even come from? Right? I didn't know what was happening at the time, but now with the knowledge that I have and having years of the work to look back at, right, was unresolved trauma. Right? Trauma not being what happens to us, it's, being what happens with inside of us when we experience something. And just like many humans, from birth on, I had navigated many things that my body was never taught how to process. And when these things stay in our body and they're unprocessed, from my perspective, they first manifest as emotional disease and then mental disease and then physical disease. And I was navigating all of those things. I had, physical pains that were there on a daily debilitating basis, right? And finally got a diagnosis after I started working with the medicine, in which case they wanted to hand me all these autoimmune suppressants and like medications. And I'm like, no. Ironically, I kept doing the work and I have no pain. I never took the medicine, but I have no pain, which lets me know that the more work that I continue to do, because it's never done, right? We're never done. And I think when it's done, I think we're like, that was fun. Let's do it again. And so it was processing things that my body was holding. And full disclosure, I don't always know the things that my body's releasing in journey space. I don't need to know all of it. And the medicine will let me know the things that I need to be consciously aware of that it's moving through me. Right. So there's journey spaces, there's retreats that I've gone on. I may have had all kinds of pain. I come home, the pain's gone. There's no again. I'm not a visual person in Yaha and Ayahuasca. So I don't generally have these like how experiences. It's more like I'm the therapist and I'm the client, and there's no bullshitting in this space, and let's have a conversation. You know, I don't always know what's moving through in the purges and stuff, but I do feel the benefits of it, and I'm just open to releasing what doesn't serve me. And sometimes I'm aware of it, and sometimes I'm not.
Yeah, so very true. Just out of curiosity, like you talk about your experience, your life-changing experience with ayahuasca, yeah, hey, but you work with psilocybin. What is the particular reason for that? I would assume that you would work with ayahuasca, that had such an impact on you.
Yeah, there's a lot of different ways that people work with ayahuasca, and there's a lot of different ways that people align with it, right? I dove in the traditional aspect, so I did sit with a Taita who has been working with the medicine since he was 7 years old. It is his way of life. It's not something he does on the weekends. It is his way of life, and that feels really good for me. I was shown in 2018 when it was a case psilocybin thing. What I was shown was that ayahuasca is not sustainable, right? There's a sustainability issue. Ayahuasca doesn't grow all over the world. I don't know that ayahuasca is people's people's medicine, right? Not all of our ancestors have connections to this, and is that necessary for everybody? It's not, absolutely. But for me, when I think about holding medicine space, right? It feels good to me to keep people. If you want to drink with that, like let's stick with this. Let's feed these lineages that are dying. You know what I mean? And continue to let them serve the way that they've been serving for sometimes thousands of years, rather than cooking it up on my stove and and putting on a costume that doesn't have anything to do with my lineage and say words that I don't even know what they mean. You know what I mean? So for me, it was never a call of this was your path, and I recognize that there are people that get that call, and that's totally beautiful. But for me, it was very much a lot of people that I work with are coming off from antidepressants, and they are brand new to the psychedelic space, so psilocybin makes more sense. You know what I mean? And so I understand why I got the call I did, and I understand why other people do call they did. I have done ayahuasca twice in the United States over weekends, and this is kind of the other part of it is for me, like when I go work with the medicine, I need like a minimum of 7 to 10 days and in an undisturbed space to be able to process, right? So these weekend things for me is like drink on Friday, drink on Saturday, go home Sunday, back to work Monday. That's fascinating to me, and I get it. I appreciate that it's there for the people that that's all they can do. But for me, in both of those spaces, the message that I got was, I won't teach you this way. And so I got silent, quiet your mind, right? You can have a break, but this isn't where you're going to do your work, which was fascinating to me. But I do have means of getting to South America and sitting in traditional things. Not everybody does. And I believe that she works with those people and meets people where they are, potentially. So yeah, it's a great question.
Thank you. Thank you for sharing that. So, share a little bit about how do you work with people? Do you have a specific program, a specific duration? Is it very individual? Do you only work with mushrooms, or if people go to their own retreat with ayahuasca and then come back, do you take on people just for integration, any kind of substance or psychedelic, or how is that practically, looking?
Yeah, absolutely. I support everybody. So regardless of what they're working with, I have a lot of clients who are doing, ketamine, and there's, the ketamine clinics do not have integration. Right? So I have a lot of clients like that who are going on their own retreats. I also facilitate retreats generally across the U.S. with a, for psilocybin, and I offer, when it's safe to do so, I offer one-on-one virtual support with a support person within a safe support person within the home that I can connect with. I support people in the microdosing space. So we do, bringing community together and supporting through microdosing. I also have a membership where we really do tap into these foundational things, right? So it's not just about the medicine. It's about let's stay on track with our nutrition. Let's stay on track with our movement. Let's stay on track with our breath work, and let's learn new modalities along the way too. So essentially, it can be individualized. There's not been somebody that I've not been able to meet where they are. If I don't offer something that they would align with, I will either create or I will connect them with somebody that offers what they're looking for, because we are not. right? We all do have different desires and comfort levels in this space. Regardless of how I work with people, though, it's a similar process. We always begin with intake. Intake is, the initial call. They're intaking information. I'm intaking information. I have a very extensive intake form, which is not only the trauma timeline, the medical history to make sure that what we're doing is safe and that we can be prepared for anything that may come up into the journey. We move in setting intention. What does somebody want to know, be, do, or understand through doing this work? Why are they working with the medicine? How will they know if it works? Something kind of measurable and tangible. How are we going to know if this works for you? Right? And then let's move into the in space. And this is where we're, of course, working with the wisdom of the teacher. So whether it's psilocybin, I also work a little bit with LSD. I also work a little bit with MDMA. I on occasion will work with Wachuma. Right. So this is the in space. What wisdom are we getting from the teachers? And then it's the integration. So now it's what are we going to do with this information? What are 1 to 3 action steps that we can take moving forward to actually create sustainable change in life? And then all of my clients 60 days of unlimited integration support. And this includes phone calls. Phone calls 10 minutes. Awesome. If the phone calls 3 hours, awesome. I'll always let them know ahead of time if I've got a hard stop. Right. But I'm there for whatever they need when they need. Not like every other Tuesday, because what's going to happen is every other Wednesday, something's going to come up and then they're going to forget about it by the time the next session rolls. Right. So I'm there to provide as things come up. So that's how I support people. I also take safe containers. I partner with a few people. I have one retainer. I have a therapist. I'm trauma informed. I'm trauma trained. I'm not a trauma expert. So if something above and beyond my scope of practice happens within one of my containers, I have that to fall back on as support, right? She's there to support us. And then I also partner with a nurse who specializes in psychiatry, right? So we're covered on that aspect of it. I've taken a lot of training to support me in knowing like what medications are okay and not okay, which ones do we need to look at dosing and things like that. And if there's ever a question, I have that to fall back onto. And it's for, so I've covered myself and my clients to create a safe container all the way around, regardless of whether they're working with me on a microdosing basis and growth integration coaching, or whether they're actually journeying.
Well, that sounds like really well thought out and very responsible. So you said like 60 days after, you have a 60-day container. And what about before, like with the prep, with the intention setting? What do you like, what do you say to people who are first timers and preparing for? So what do you recommend to do?
Yeah, it's a great question. So from the time somebody essentially puts a deposit down with me, their support begins, and that's, I have some people who have deposits down for retreats that start in June. Their integration support begins now, right? So they're getting calls, they're getting support in that. I don't just have people come into my space. So talking about psilocybin, I don't just have them come in and do a macro dose. All of my clients, 99.8% of my clients are having sessions. The majority of them, we do a mini dose, right? So we're going to tap in with about a half a gram to 3/4 of a gram to give them a feel of what it's going to feel like in the body. It gives us an opportunity to create connection, which will bring them a sense of safety, and me a sense of safety and journey space, right? And so then they're able to go a little bit deeper. And then of course it gives a lot of valuable information as far as how quickly does it come on, how long does it last, most of it came up, which can be valuable to peek into that. So I do have a process that sort of steps them into the macro container, so beginning with a consultation, and then we do the onboarding call, which is anywhere from 45 minutes to 3 hours, just depending on what somebody's navigating. And I'm not real good at putting time limits on things, because if we're working through something, we're working through something, and I've been cut off in the middle of working on things because my hours it doesn't feel good. So I try to create that space for my clients that let's do that. And then we have generally a few calls before we get into that mini dose container. And then we have a macro dose container, and then our integration.
Okay, thank you so much. We're gonna give our people to your website and everything when they can read more about your offerings. But it's nice when you explain, because different people have different offerings and everybody works a different way. And I think that's beautiful. There's so many offerings out there because people are called and drawn to different things, right? And they are also at different levels. And this is wonderful. But this also has like challenges as well, well, what do you see? Because you are quite in picture, quite trained, you did your research, you did your training, you have your experience. Definitely you are like a role player in the psychedelic renaissance, one of the pioneers. Like, what is that you see right now kind of unfolding in the psychedelic healing space, and what is that you most excited about and the most kind of scared about, or I don't know how to say, concerned?
Yeah, great question. What I see is a lot of humans with beautiful intentions that are seeing an opportunity to step out of the way that we've been doing things and seeing that it works. And they're wanting to help with great intentions. And I'm also seeing a lot of humans with really great intentions, fueling and re-traumatizing humans because they're not sure how to go about doing what they're wanting to do, right? They're not sure how to create the safe container. I see 1,010,000 different trainings out there now. People are now at this point, there's so many trainings, people aren't even sure what training to take and how to set themselves up. So I see some confusion in that, which is also part of the reason why I'm moving forward with a mentorship, which will be a combination of all the trainings I've taken, as well as like now let's get in and actually do it before you go out and create a business, right? Let's do it first, right? So I see a lot of that. I see a lot of humans with good intentions. I also see a lot of humans who are seeing dollar signs, and that's concerning. So these are some of the things that concern me. The legalization versus decriminalization, that's concerning to me personally. I would love to just see decriminalization, keep the regulations out of it. Just give me a ticket if you happen to walk by at the wrong time, but keep the government regulations out of it. I don't see that working out well. And path that it's going to go, and that's okay too, right? And I'm here for that. But there are some concerns in that. What I'm most excited about is also that there are so many people excited about this, right? Because there are multiple, at least in our country, there's multiple counties where there are therapists are not an option. They're not even available. And there are a lot of people who do not resonate with therapy. The Western medicine way has failed them, right? And so they're right now they're doing nothing. And what excites me is that this stuff does work. And the more mainstream that it does get, although that does come with its downfalls, it is also coming with people feeling more comfortable to lean into it. And in which case, more and more people finding their way to these tools and essentially finding their way back to themselves. And the more of us that do that on a human level, the better we're going to be as a species. Is it going to shift probably in our lifetime to a drastic way? Probably not, but this is the work and we're doing our part in it. And I do believe that right now, our generations are massively accelerating this work with the ability to be able to tap into these medicines once again.
Yes, that's awesome. Thank you for sharing that. And what would you say to people who haven't tried psychedelics yet, or maybe did a little bit recreationally and they are interested, but they are like don't even know where to go or who to ask or whatever? Like, what would be the most important thing that you want to share with them that you wish you would have known at the beginning?
Yeah, well, first, what I'd love to say is just reach out to me. Reach out to somebody that has taken the time with their own personal journey, and that's important. Personal journey is an important piece, and taking time with training and ask questions. Not all facilitators are created equal, and that's beautiful. But you want to make sure you find a container that you resonate requires gaining data and asking questions. You want a facilitator that I wanted a facilitator, I'm going to reframe that. I wanted a facilitator that actually saw me and weren't just lumping me into this group of everybody's here for the same reason. It's like you want to be seen and you want to feel heard and you want to know that the integration support is there afterwards. And if it's not there afterwards, that's okay. Are they upfront with you that this is the part that I play in it and I will help you prepare and I will help you in the journey space? And here are some resources for integration, right? If they're not at least giving you some resources to connect with integration, that might be a little bit of a red flag. right? So I think it's just tuning in and recognizing some of the red flags, asking a lot of questions, recognizing that all containers are not created equal. And if you don't feel comfortable in a container, I don't care if you've paid $5,000 and you've gotten on a flight and you're in South America. If you walk in that container and your body says no, turn around and walk out and count it as the best $5,000 lesson you have ever learned in your entire life. Do not sit in an unsafe medicine. And it doesn't mean if you feel unsafe that it's an unsafe medicine container. It just might mean it's not safe for your energy. And that's important.
Wow, so many good things that you shared with us
Mhm.
today. Thank you so much. Is there anything that you want to shout out to people right now, your offerings, like any last words that you want our audience to hear?
Sure, yeah. And if you're interested in becoming a coach or a facilitator or somebody in this space, I do have a mentorship starting in June that I'd love to share more information about. Again, it's going to consist of my trauma-informed training that I took through the institute I took it with. They're going to come and provide the training, integration training that I took. They're going to come in and provide the training, and then there'll be access to coming in and supporting within my containers to be able to have the hands-on experience. I also have a couple of retreats coming up in Michigan in June and Pennsylvania in July. Microdosing case study starting in April. So lots of good things moving in my world, and just love authentic connection. So yeah, however I can support, just even if just holding space, I'm here for it.
Thank you so much for the good work that you are doing. And yeah, definitely lots of blessings. And we're going to share all your information so people can connect with you if they resonate with your offering. And I feel this is so important what you're saying. We are also coming out with a training, but this focused on ayahuasca integration. And it's also an apprenticeship style of training. You're going through your own experience. And I think that we also created this training. It's so funny that we kind of download the same information. A lot of people get the same memo somehow, because when I looked at the trainings, that were available, a lot of them is very academic, and I was like, I met a lot of people who did trainings and they were like, yeah, it was good, but I don't feel confident to actually have a client and to navigate, whatever occurs in the healing container. And I think this is so important. And also our program is very similar what you described. It's like you go through your own experience, you work in real containers, in the real life scenarios. Like that's just so good to hear, that this is coming, a thing, and then hopefully a norm. I just cannot imagine somebody can provide appropriate guidance and support who don't have adequate experience, in the space. So yeah, thank you for being a pioneer in that. And yes, so please, guys, if you feel called to follow this path and to help others this way, especially in the integration space, but also, if you are called to space holding with Miranda, whatever medicine you call to, right, that's also kind of determines which direction you are going to. I think this is a good moment. If you feel that call, if you have that desire, if you're serious about it, like it's a good moment, to take advantage of this energy, that is building, I think, in this space.
Agreed. Yeah. Thank you so much for what you do. And I love, I love that we're all out there, and I definitely work with psilocybin, and it's beautiful that you're on the same path with ayahuasca and creating the containers where it's like, just get our hands in it and do it, because that's
Mm,
where the comfort level comes from. And only when we're comfortable in our own containers can we truly create a safe container.
absolutely.
So
So
thank you.
true. Thank you so much. And please stay tuned in for our next episode and leave your comments and share this with your friends. And thank you for listening. See you next time.
Thank you for listening, and leave a comment if you enjoyed this episode. Help us grow our community by sharing this episode with your friends and subscribe to our channel to receive the latest on ayahuasca assisted therapy. To embark on your healing journey or to start a new career in psychedelic assisted therapy, go to my website, avatarhealingarts.com, and get in touch. And of course, stay tuned for the next episode.